What's going on YouTube? Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about pre-treating and post-treating for salt applications. Actually here right now, real time at Site 1, got the green light. Let's go load up. Before we're done, I want to talk about 4 or 5 points about pre-treating versus post-treating. And admittedly, this is our first year doing salting in-house, so we're learning a lot, as you guys can imagine. I have about 4 or 5 topics I want to share, maybe to give you guys some tips what we've learned so far. And by the time we're done, give you guys 2 extra bonus tips here. So, of course, in good old YouTube milk it fashion, you got to watch all the way through. Really quick, before we do, let me load up some salt because I got to go tag up 2 HOAs. I actually did not do them this morning, which, go figure, is part of this whole conversation about when to pre-treat and when to post-treat. So I'm going to go load up some salt. I'll take you guys with us. We'll keep this conversation going. If I haven't said it already, Happy New Year to all of you guys. All right, let's hop on out. Let's do this. See where we're at. Can I just get like a 1/4 ton? I just got to go tag up 2 roadways, like a 1/4 ton, not too much. Cool, thanks bro. All right, let's load up here. So we're at our local Site 1. This is where we get a lot of our bulk salt. We got another couple vendors that we do use and another one that we pre-buy, but shout out to Site 1. Those guys are always great. Get that bulk salt. And by the way, is the snow plowing the white gold or is the salting the white gold? Nobody's ever clarified that. All right, let's load up really quick here. Coming on in, we got that Boss VBX Plus doing the deal. That's not good. Yep. Thank you. All right, so that's all I need. Let me just show you guys. Gotta go tag up 2 roadways, about a 1/4 mile of road and about a 1/2 mile of road. So I'm gonna go tag those up really quick. And the best part about salt runs with Site 1 is, at least for us, when you prepay, we can just drive on that scale. They measure us out, they give us the big old wave. They already know who we are in our trucks. We've got a great team up here with Kenny and the guys and the gals. And we're able to just roll on to the next site. So here's the conversation I wanna have as we're zipping around the countryside, taking care of the salt and all the snow squalls that are coming through. Is talking about when to pre-treat and post-treat. Now, I'll tell you what, cutting grass, taking it down a little tangent here, but cutting grass, if you cut grass and it's 6 days, you cut grass and it's 8 days, or if you cut every 7 days right on schedule, doesn't really make that big of a difference. Now, when you're doing snow plowing and salt and snow and ice management, making sure that you're on it makes all the difference in the world. If you salt too late, you might not get your pre-done plow run down to pavement. It might freeze too quickly. It might be too cold. And so you're going to have ice forming up instead of keeping it as wet pavement. If you pre-treat, you might be able to scrape cleaner, provide a little bit of a barrier. Maybe you put down some salt at 5 a.m. The snow is going from 6 to 9. And then that workspace looks pretty good. And it buys you some time to go out there and do a salt run or scrape at noon or 2 or 3 or 4. And it just buys you a little bit of time in between doing your first plow run. If you don't do that first salt run at that time beforehand, you might be kind of cleaning up a mess after. If you have a wintry mix situation and it might be turning into ice and or snow and it's during rush hour, well, you can let it switch over, turn to freezing rain or freezing ice or snow, and let everybody slip and slide around at rush hour. But if you pre-treat, you're going to do all of your customers and the world a difference by pre-treating to starve off anything coming down or sticking for a couple of hours, just so people can make it home between that rush hour between 5 and 7 p.m. So when to pre-treat and when to post-treat makes all the difference. And in fact, I've got a couple notes here that I wrote down. Let me make sure that I'm hitting all these for you guys and making sure that I'm talking about what I wanted to talk about. So here's my quick short list, and we'll go through this as we go and plow, or I should say salt some sites together. The very first conversation about when to pre-treat, when to post-treat, it's not necessarily service, it's expectations for the customer and for the client, right? So if you guys are getting started in salting, I'm gonna give you about 4 or 5 tips here that maybe can help you guys out with some of your conversations for going into the next year. So number 1, it's not whether we pre-treat or do we post-treat, because for the most part, if you're a salting client, you're probably going to have a little bit of both regardless. But what is the expectation for the customer, right? Do they even want salt service? That's a whole conversation, right? So whether we pre-treat or post-treat isn't really the very first conversation we should have. It's whether or not they're getting salt service, whether or not their budget is calling for 0 tolerance, at a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, inch or more worth of snow or slush or ice or rain, sleet mix. Like, what kind of conversation are we having for coverage for the account? And by the way, that always doesn't mean the customer dictates, right? Because we don't have to take everybody on. If they're saying, no, we don't want any salt at all, well, you better have a really good separate salt waiver that talks about the fact that they're waiving salt service and they take full responsibility for any slip and fall cases or situations, right? Now, we have that in our main snow contract and template in the terms of service with our proposals that we send out with LMN. But if somebody denies salt and they're just a plow only client, which is very rare for us these days, probably 1 in 8, 1 in 10 clients are like that, no problem. We still, we'll take on potentially some of those clients if they fit the mold and they fit the price and the route, but 100%. So there's no confusion. God forbid there ever is a conversation, push comes to shove, about liability. We 100% will have a separate salt waiver. Where do we get that? ChatGPT. If you want ours, shoot me an email, I'll get you ours. But you can just punch it into ChatGPT and you can make one. So number 1 is, what's the expectations on the site? Number 2, what's the expectation on pricing? Right? How are we providing a holistic approach and conversation for that client so they know that salt costs money? Let's be honest. If you look at a salt budget of $10,000 for a client, plowing is probably going to be about $3,500 to $4,000 of that. Salting is going to make up the remainder, 30, 35 visits, maybe 20, 25 down south, maybe 35, 40 up north, depending on what you guys do. But in most of our budgets in the Midwest and East Coast, salting is going to be about 2/3 of that budget. So do they know that the snowplow services that you quoted for $3,500, it's going to pretty much double, if not triple up for salting? And that's going to take that account from $3,000 to $7, $8, $9, $10,000 really quickly. Now, at the end of the day, we are becoming more full service with our commercial site management. And so we are not giving anybody an option to not sign up with salt. Either you get salt with snow plowing or you're not going to be a customer of ours. Because as my friend Troy Clogg says, and I learn as much as I can from Troy and try to apply as much as Troy says, and Lord knows I still have a mile to go. Troy always says, we don't manage snow, we manage risk. We don't manage snow, we manage liability. And so that's the conversation that we're having here on the topic of when to pre-treat and when to post-treat. Let's keep going. What are the storm conditions coming in? What's the chances for rain and wintry mix? And what are the chances for refreeze? That is the exact practical conversation. And it really does become an art, and it really does become a science when it comes to when to pre-treat and when to post-treat. And that's going to be a little bit about education, a little bit from experience, right? At the end of the day, I can tell you all the best situations and scenarios that might come in and come through, but where the boots on the ground is going to be as you're looking at the snow events, as you're looking at your weather apps, as you're looking at your True Weather, which little promo, we got a little link for you guys. You can always sign up with True Weather. They're one of the folks that we have an affiliate partnership with. Fantastic weather service. As you look at the more data that comes in, you're able to make a better calculated guess on when to pre-treat and when to post-treat. Now, again, it's really going to come from experience. I'm sure if I had 30 different snow events, I could have 30 different answers for you. The bottom line is that you're trying to make sure that the site is safe, that we are reducing as much as physically possible the chance for a slip and fall or any situation or any accidents. And that's going to come with a variety of different servicing for that weather. Right now, no single weather event is going to be the same as the next one. So a wintry mix might call for a different salt approach than a 6-inch snowstorm that's going to require 2 plow runs and a post-salt treatment, right? What happens with a snowstorm during the morning rush hour is going to be wildly different than a conversation about what's going on for the weekend. If you have churches, we have a couple churches that we manage the parking lots for. Salting during the week versus making sure the place is plowed and salted on prime time, maybe Wednesday, Saturdays, and Sundays, right? Entirely different approach and entirely different conversation. And that's going to come from boots on the ground info, what your weather's calling for, the local conditions, and of course the product you're putting down and its efficacy with the approach that you're taking for this holistic site management. So these are all things to think about, and really some of these are in art, some of these are in science, and so it really takes a lot of mental capacity and bandwidth to get really good at this. And to be honest with you guys, as my 12th salt run so far in my career, I don't think I'm there yet to give you every single answer, but these are the things that I knew before because I studied a lot along the way, and these are things that we're learning practically speaking as we go into more salt runs. Okay, and so far we're having a pretty good season. Very grateful, and it's kind of exhilarating. We're learning a lot and it's going pretty well. All right, here's my last 2 tips that I was going to share with you guys. I did write these down earlier. I wanted to make sure that I'm delivering as much value as I can. If you guys are enjoying this stuff, maybe drop me a quick like or a thumbs up. What is the 2 biggest factors that usually nudge me over the end of a teeter-totter? What does that mean? Like, does that mean, do we go out and salt? Do we go out and post-treat? Do we go out and pre-treat? Like, where are we at? Like, what's the teeter-totter? If I'm 50-50 going, nah, I don't know if I should salt. The client is willing to pay for it. The weather conditions kind of call for it. The budget's there for it. It's not so much necessarily the efficacy of the product, although that's a huge part of this weighted conversation. It's the last 2 that I have here, and I wrote them down. It was, who's the liability falling under, and what's cheaper, a ton of salt or a slip and fall lawsuit? So if you're 49-51 or 50-50 and you gotta add 1 or 2% to tip the scales, who is that liability falling under? And what's cheaper, a slip and fall lawsuit or a ton of salt? Well, if I'm partnering up with my clients and I'm, as their preferred contractor, assuming liability, which all my contracts, we have no liability, we have hold harmless clauses. This is where really good contracts come into play. We have these at Lawntrepreneur Academy. We have a lot of the templates that we use and wording that we use from the LMN templates. That's where you're always trying to kind of shove some responsibility back onto the customer, or really the person who's walking on the site, for crying out loud, at 10 o'clock at night. I didn't know that it'd be icy out there at the Target parking lot that was closed, right? Like, why are you on a Target parking lot at 11 o'clock at night? That's a whole other conversation. But who does the liability fall under, and how much is a ton of salt compared to a lawsuit? So if liability is going to fall on me and the clients that I'm trying to protect, and a ton of salt's $240 applied, or whatever your number is, versus a $1 million slip and fall lawsuit, well, I guess we have the answer to that conversation, don't we? So at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway here? We don't manage snow, we don't manage ice, we manage risk. And so here's my conversation for all of you guys that are out there. As you're getting into more salting, as you guys are getting into plowing, that is the conversation you're not only having with yourself and your guys, but also having with your potential customers, right? So I'm thinking to myself, do I want a phone call from the AP team or the accounting team or the office team, or my contact, the facility manager or the office manager, the guy or the gal, doesn't matter, about why was the bill so expensive? And my question is, expensive compared to what? Now, 1, I'm your partner. I want to make sure that we're staying in budget. But number 2, aren't you glad that we salted so that way there wasn't a, for instance, situation of a slip and fall? Because if you had to weigh out the 2, and I'm telling you, this might be a little salesy, but this is how I truly believe. Would you rather have had me salted and we never heard about an issue because there wasn't any, or not salt, and then you got an email 3 weeks later saying, Grandma, Johnson slipped and fell and broke her hip and she's in urgent care and we're looking at $1 million lawsuit? Right? And so it's the whole, like, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it fall, does it make a sound? Well, how many slip and falls have we all prevented by salting and making sure that we're taking care of these sites correctly? We'll never know. We only hear about the horror stories with slip and fall lawsuits. So at the end of the day, if there was a takeaway here on what's going to teeter-totter between a pre-treatment and a post-treatment, outside of the art, the science, the expectations, the budget, what the client wants, what we actually need to do and perform, it's let's make sure we're managing risk and managing liability. That's how I see it. All right, that's what I got for you guys on today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If so, leave me a comment down below, shoot me a thumbs up. Let me know if it was helpful. And this is what I'm learning as we've done 12 salt runs so far. And over the years, I think we've put down about 400 to 500 tons of salt in our career so far, subbing that out, if not maybe double that number. I'd have to actually look, but I'm very, very grateful and thankful for how far we've made it this far. That's what I've got for you guys on today's video. If you guys enjoy this video, don't forget to hit thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys are new. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and really means a lot. I'm trying to get to that 1 million gold subscriber play button sometime this year or next year, whatever works. But also, if you guys want to check out some great plowing videos, I'll make sure to leave some cards and end screens or whatever it all does here. And you guys can check out more videos from Brian's Lawn Maintenance. If you guys are new to lawn and snow and running a lawn and landscaping business, I invite you guys to hit that subscribe button, follow along for more great content, and we will catch up with all you guys here on the next one. Over and out.